Hey, this is Ryan of Happy Healthy Vegan. So if you've been vegan long enough, you've heard all the weird, lame arguments and excuses people have as to why they couldn't possibly be vegan. And one that really annoys me is this, but the Circle of Life Tho argument, if it's even an argument. I mean, what's super frustrating is that for most people I ever see bring up the Circle of Life argument, everything they know about the Circle of Life is from a Disney movie. So what all these people mean when they say they can't be vegan because of the Circle of Life? Well, it doesn't really make a lot of sense, but I'm trying to be as intellectually honest as possible. So I believe I have the two most common interpretations or intentions that these people have when they say they can't be vegan because of the Circle of Life, and we'll explore them both and see if they make any sense. So first of all, let's start off by looking at some video footage that an anti-vegan hater made of me. They took a clip of me on one of my live streams about a month ago responding to their Circle of Life question, and they think they did a gotcha on me, that they proved that I'm totally wrong and the Circle of Life is real and veganism debunked. And by the way, I gotta apologize for this horrible video quality that you're about to see. It's not my fault. I have beautiful 1080p video. I don't know what the hell they did with my stuff. And the Circle of Life bigger? There is no Circle of Life. What is he talking about? So that was their entire YouTube video, a quote of me saying there is no Circle of Life and them showing a paper, which we'll get to in a second, showing that there is indeed a Circle of Life. But let's get back to what I said. I think there's two interpretations or intentions that anti-vegans have when they bring up the Circle of Life as to being a reason why they can't be vegan. And the most common one being is that they feel that they themselves are a part of the Circle of Life, like they're a wildebeest on the African savannah trying to stay away from cheetahs hunting them or whatever. And this is what I meant when I said to this person, well, there is no Circle of Life for you. You don't have that situation. You're not in an ecosystem where you're hunting or being hunted and all this stuff. You have the luxury of getting in your SUV and driving to Walmart or Costco and buying 100 pounds of food. You're not in any threat or danger of starving or anything like that, like animals out in the wild are. So that's why I was laughing and dismissing. There is no Circle of Life for most people who are not in some kind of survival situation. Like I said, you have the luxury of just sitting in your house all day, being protected from any would-be animals trying to hunt you or anything like that. And when you're hungry, you don't have to go out and look for animals or anything like that, or even gather plants. Just gather yourself into your car or bus, or just walk down to your local grocery market or corner bodega or whatever you have to buy food. Just saying that humans, for the most part, especially if you have the luxury of being able to get on the internet and watch my live streams, humans for the most part are separated from any kind of Circle of Life that, say, wild animals trying to survive in ecosystems of nature are experiencing. So the bottom line is, if you're human and you think your life somehow resembles that of a wildebeest, no, it doesn't. So please don't use the Circle of Life argument ever. So that Circle of Life argument is more from kind of a survival of the fittest in nature kind of perspective. Yeah, like I said, I think that one is the more common one I'll see people spouting off as why they can't be vegan. I'm not sure how that's a reason why they couldn't be vegan, because there's wildebeest in nature in Africa, savannas, that they themselves in North America or England or wherever can't go to the store and buy plants. That's why I said never use that argument, because it makes no sense. But now let's look at the second perspective or interpretation of the Circle of Life argument. I believe now that's the one that this hater used now after watching their video. So let's take a look at what they showed here exactly. They showed a study from UC Santa Barbara about two researchers who went to Africa to analyze what happens to the decomposed bodies of large African elephants. And they found that nutrients cycle from the carcass into the soil and eventually into the plants, the herbivores that eat them and the predators that eat the herbivores. So unlike that first interpretation I just discussed about the Circle of Life, where they think they're in this life and death battle in nature like a wildebeest, and that's why they can't go to Walmart and buy plants. No, this hater has the other interpretation, the lesser used one of the Circle of Life, where they're asserting that without the use of animals, like killing animals and using their decomposed or processed bodies as fertilizer for the soil, it would be impossible to grow the plants that us vegans and all non-vegans and even livestock are eating. I mean, have they never heard of animal-free agriculture? Yes, it's a real thing. Animal-free agriculture, also sometimes known as veganic agriculture, stock-free farming, or veganic farming, consists of farming methods that do not use animals or animal products. Animal-free growers do not keep domesticated animals and do not use animal products such as farmed animal manures or animal parts such as bone meal, blood meal, fish meal to fertilize their crops. Emphasis is placed on using green manures and plant-based compost instead. And in the United Kingdom, they actually certify these stock-free veganic farms, and as of 2021, there are no less than 18 certified farms. And of course, I realize this is far from being the agricultural norm, but I do know farmers who practice in these methods. In fact, some of the farmers at my farmer's market use these stock-free methods. In fact, I've been growing food in my front yard for years and never used any animal inputs. So obviously, in the circle of life for growing food, it's not necessary for the end of the life of animals to be used to have fertile soils to produce food. You could compost green matter. Like in my local farmer's market case, I know one that personally uses seaweed as their compost. But let's pretend for a moment that these haters are correct, that you have to use decomposed animal bits to fertilize soil, veganic farming's impossible on a large scale. Well, let's see what would happen if we actually compared how much fertilizer was needed to produce food for vegans versus omnivores. And actually, there's a study that's done exactly that. This analysis compares the fertilizer requirements for vegan and omnivore diets, and they concluded that shifting from animal to plant sources of protein can substantially reduce fertilizer requirements, even with maximal use of animal manure. So in other words, even in this study, which took into account maximal animal manure used to produce food, if you're eating a vegan diet or a plant-based diet, way fewer animals need to be harmed to produce the manure to grow plants if you're eating just plants. And if you're eating a meat diet, you're harming, exploiting, slaughtering animals every day because that's what you're consuming. And furthermore, more animals need to be killed in order to fertilize all the plants that need to be fed to your livestock. Well, right now I can just imagine this hater who made this video about me is thinking, hey, they still got me. Veganism has still been debunked in their mind because not everyone is buying their food from veganic farming, and I admit it's still in its early stages. But furthermore, if you're buying food from non-veganic sources, as the study shows, yeah, vegans fare much better as far as not harming and exploiting and killing animals compared to non-vegans. But the anti-vegans are going to say, hey, you're still harming and exploiting animals. Well, let's look at the definition of veganism again. Does it say that vegans are free from all harm, exploitation completely? If even an ant gets harmed, veganism's debunked? No, it's a stance against animal cruelty, a way of living which seeks to exclude as far as possible and practicable all forms of cruelty and exploitation of animals for food, clothing, or any other purpose. And notice the key words here, as far as possible and practicable, which means, yes, there may not be absolute 100% perfection in the way foods are produced. There might be some animal cruelty and exploitation that's just completely unavoidable. It doesn't mean from that, okay, we'll just abandon veganism because some foods might have some animal manures. Again, veganism is doing the best you can. And according to science, veganism is the best in that it harms and exploits and kills the fewest amount of animals just because we don't consume them and our diets require the least amount of fertilizers. But anti-vegans love to define veganism in such a way that no vegan could ever be vegan. It'd be impossible because there's no such thing as perfection. If they're really honest, they could look at the definition like I provided here. It goes back to the 1940s. It's not totally perfect or anything, but it's a pretty darn good definition, and it covers the essence of veganism. We're against animal cruelty and exploitation, and there's no perfection about it. We do the best that we can. And in this case, veganism is the best that we can. We're not slaughtering animals every day for us in order to live. And as far as animal inputs go, as far as fertilizers go, vegan diets require the fewest inputs. And furthermore, we can just buy from veganic sources if we're fortunate enough to have those available to us. So just like the first example of the circle of life argument that I discussed in the first half of this video, this second example of the circle of life argument fails equally as bad for all the reasons that I've just been talking about for the past 5 minutes or so. So anyway, before I end this video, I actually dug up the live stream where this hater got pissed off at me, because they got pissed off, as I'll show you, because they got banned for they're not answering my questions. I'm trying to engage them in an intellectual conversation about what they're asserting here about the circle of life, and you'll see some just wacky, zany, outrageous claims about veganism, and they wouldn't respond. All they would just do is just keep flinging new outrageous claims at me one after another, and I banned them for that, for violating my live stream rules. All right, you just flung some more poop on the walls. Okay, bye. You obviously don't care about one thing I'm saying here. You're just here to promote your twisted point of view, despite logic and evidence proving otherwise. Facts don't matter to people like facts are irrelevant. Only his or her opinion matters, and facts are irrelevant. They couldn't prove that veganism is a cult requiring unwavering devotion to some kind of cult belief. No, they just believe animal cruelty and exploitation are wrong. Simple, easy, chill belief. It couldn't be more basic and peaceful and easy than that. So you've been banned for not participating in an honest, open discussion. You're not answering any of my questions. You're not responding in any way. You're just throwing more poop on the walls, and you're gone. Yeah, that person's banned. That's why I have these rules. These rules are just really basic. Oops, wrong thing here. Let's just quickly reacquaint ourselves what we expect from people. If you're here to debunk veganism, rule number 3, I'll only discuss one of your claims at a time. We will analyze that claim very thoroughly, maybe too thorough for these anti-vegans' likings, because these claims are really easy to dismantle. It's really easy to point out their logical, factual, and conceptual errors, and they're riddled with them. So after I do that, just don't throw new poop on that line of reasoning to work. Let's try this one. Let's bring up poop app. Don't do that. Just admit that your first claim sucked, and you can come back in the future and try a new one. But if you're going to keep flinging a poop on the walls, I will not allow you to come back and just litter up our live stream with your poop. Whew, what's wrong with these people, guys? What's so wrong with these people? Veganism is a cult. I mean, how is it a cult? I mean, am I a cult leader? That's what I really want to know. Am I considered a vegan cult leader? Wouldn't even answer that stupid basic question. So let me know down below if veganism is a cult or if I am a cult leader. I didn't know I was a vegan cult leader, but I'm wondering, because that's what this person said. Veganism is led by these charismatic cult leaders. Hey, that's me. I'll take that one. That's a nice compliment. And also let me know what you've heard about the circle of life arguments. Has someone ever thrown that at you? And how'd you interpret it? The first or second way that I described it here. And yeah, hit like, share this video. And remember, guys, it doesn't suck being vegan.